every family has a Joe. Every family has somebody who probably is struggling for one reason or another, whatever it might be. Mental health issues, untreated trauma, untreated behavioral health issues. And every family worries about this during Thanksgiving because they know that Joe is going to be there. Check in with Joe quietly and confidentially and see how he's doing. Is he inebriated? Is he under the influence? Is he on medication? Is he coming in hot? Is he angry? And just say, is there anything I can do to try to make, today positive for you or good for you, or how we can include you in a different way, or what would you like to see happen on Thanksgiving today, Joe? And just be gentle and ask the question.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Your Crisis Coach with me, Fred Carroll, and the amazing, stupendous Thanksgiving week loving guy, Jewish, sober, all that stuff, California living, Scott H. Silverman. How are you?
Fred, when you said I thought maybe you forgot my name, so I was starting to get a little sad. I'm well, man. Happy holidays. It's going to be a great finish to the year, and I'm looking forward to 2026, probably more than I've looked forward to a year in a long time. So all is good, My daughter just got in from New York, and it's funny what New York does to someone's personality. It takes them a little while to kind of settle down a bit. We're going to be together for the week, the four of us, and I'm very excited about it. So I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. And you're right. New York it's one of them places where you adjust. I consider myself a somewhat New Yorker in a way. You do learn an attitude. You learn to adjust. You learn how to answer questions quicker and how to move faster. The pace. It's the pace is the biggest thing. And that's an East Coast thing. The East Coast pace is just because it's so expensive. And
Right.
You're in a similar area of San Diego where cost is a conscious problem. You have to work, make money if you want to survive in San Diego.
Well, the thing that's unique about California is you only have to worry about it 24 hours a day when you're awake. And what's
Right.
interesting, it's when you compare the coast. Yeah, you probably are. You may not be 100%, but you could be certainly 70% different than we might be in California. It's like here, it's like, you really need to go to work. You really need to be responsible. And they're like, well, wait, the sun's up, man. I'm going surfing. So there's this lackadaisical attitude that comes in this culture, which is very interesting, and the thinking is, I can always go to work. I can always parent. I can always take responsibility. But today, I'm going to the mountains to go skiing if there's snow, or I'm going to the beach to go surfing. So there's a different cultural issue, and you're right about New York. That city scares me. I get there and it's like kind of jumping on a treadmill that's already moving. And you get trampled if you don't move with the herd.
It's exciting, though. It's an exciting place. So, well, that's good. I'm just doing your basic family stuff, and we go out to dinner. We don't cook at home anymore. Nobody's local enough and nobody's alive that used to do that. So
I can't tell you, are you bragging or complaining?
Well, my stepfather likes the theory of let's just go, let somebody else cook for us, get dinner, have your coffee and, a few drinks at the table, nothing major. I'll bring up to you, I don't know if it happens on the West Coast like it does on the East Coast, but the night before Thanksgiving is a big party night. Is it a party night there? A big for the kids?
Not really, because maybe for those who are single and active in the social scene, but which I have no concept of anymore. But ultimately, and at the end of the day, I think for families, they know they're all going to be together on Thursday. So yeah, some go out and get smashed and don't want to think about it. Others are just kind of preparing their portion of what they're bringing over for potluck. So it's kind of mixed. I mean, I think, and I believe in colder weather, you see families inside a lot more, and weather's nice out here right now. It's going to probably be 65. So it's a good question. My family has always gotten together on Thursdays. And I remember years ago, we were all together out of town, and my mom asked, how's everyone Thanksgiving going? And we had such a cluster after that question. We went around the room, and my dad had broken his ankle, so he was immobile and he was in pain, and everybody else just verbally threw up their hard feelings about the holiday and being together. It was brutal. So it's an interesting holiday. It's a holiday that triggers the vortex, if you will, of many families, the pain that they go through all year. Because it's the first time. When I was working with people returning from jail and prison, and one of the studies we did was, how do you follow up with people after they've left institutions? Because most of them, they come back to a different address, they go to see a friend, they're couch surfing. And one of the outreach groups that did a study for parole and probation found out that the majority of people are home to see their mom on Thanksgiving. So that's when they called to do their follow-up work. So it's an interesting time. It's one of the few times of the year, I think, where families really focus on, whatever there is, their nuclear family or, spouses and their family or grandkids. So it's a special time, Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is different, I think, than Christmas and Hanukkah. It just seems, because it's kind of neutral and it's not really religious. And
it's
it's
not
an easy time to be there.
No religious value. Let me put you on hold for 1 minute, Scott, because I have a child that's knocking at the door because I lock the door when I record. And she just texted me that she's here to do her laundry. So give me 1 second.
I like the fact you have children coming over to do the laundry, Fred. We got to talk about that.
Okay, I am back.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you let the neighbor kids come over and do their laundry so you can stay in touch with other human beings?
No, it's Riley. It's my daughter. She's off on Mondays. She doesn't have a washer and dryer in her apartment, and she's only about a quarter of a mile away.
Does she want to come say hello?
No talking at all. I can't
even. You seem very certain about that.
Yeah, there's no chit chat, no talking. She knows I'm recording. I won't even know she was here. But at least she texts me before she gets here, because I don't like drop-ins. I don't like surprises. But yeah, she used to pay to have her laundry done, like a service.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's dumb. I got a washer and a dryer. I'm a single guy, so it's used once a week. Just do it here. I'll switch it from the washer to the dryer, and the rest is up to you. But yeah,
when she comes home, she still puts her dirty laundry. So first thing yesterday, we're doing a load of laundry for her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But yeah, so Wednesday for anybody in my daughter's age and under is a big party night. On the East Coast, when all the college kids are coming home for the first time, the ones that just went to college. So they get to see all their friends, the ones over age or with great fake IDs.
Well, yeah, it's reunion time for friends.
Yeah, so football is a big deal on the East Coast. It's Rivalry Day. Thanksgiving Day is Rivalry Day. That's when you play the town next to you or the other high school in your town. Is every Thanksgiving morning at about 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to do, for about 5 years, I did the cheerleader breakfast. Because both my kids were back-to-back in high school. One went 4 years, graduated. The other one entered, went 4 years. And they were both cheerleaders. So I would have, 35 to 50 people at my house at 7 in the morning for a full breakfast. That I cooked.
This is Thursday now, Thanksgiving Day, right?
On Thanksgiving morning.
Yeah, so everybody was hungover and having a good time and wearing each other's.
This is when they were in high school, so it was a little different. But between the parents and everything, I would have to get up at 3 a.m. on Thanksgiving and start cooking. And I would do it in my gazebo on my grills, all the bacon, talking pounds and pounds and pounds of bacon, French toast, orange juice, coffee, hash browns, bagels. And then we thought it was a great opportunity because any food left over we would bring to the shelter, the breads and stuff like that. And I really miss those days because now they're all grown and out of the house.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you missed the shelter.
No. So let's move forward to, we are going to start a new segment, right, Scott, called Ask Us Anything. which is something we're going to be pushing, and we really mean it. Ask us anything, and
Anything.
we will do our best to either answer the question or find an answer to the question or find a source that could answer the question. And listen, nothing's held back. If you want to type something stupid, type something stupid. We'll still answer it.
We're kind of hoping for that.
Yeah. Well, that adds a little more entertainment flair to
Well, and people, I can't wait for someone to say, well, why would you even have a show about asking you anything when I can use Google? Well, because Google has got, algorithms they use. We're going to give you the real truth. We're going to make something up that sounds like the real truth that you can't get on Google.
And there's an emotional value to it too. That's why I don't worry about AI. But the big thing recently is AI writing books, in the fear of the book industry being pushed under by AI. It'll never happen. Because one thing people forget is AI does not predict the future necessarily. All AI does is gather information quicker than you can. And so let's just say a James Bond book. You want AI to write it. AI is going to go read the 33 James Bond books, get an idea of what it is, and write a book based off of that. But it's never going to have the emotion or the value. It doesn't know what James Bond is. So yeah, it could create a readable book that is probably exciting and fun and stuff, but it's just recycled stuff. It's going to be stuff from book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4. You're going to have characters flashing back because AI doesn't know you don't know the girl from book 4. It may not even been made into a film. So you may not even read it or seen it. And they're going to mention...
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt. I think that one of the things that we can do that we've been doing already, but not with the direct question, is give you, I believe there's 3 kinds of truth: yours, mine, and the truth. We'll do what we can to give you the truth, but if we can't get to the truth because we don't have the data, we'll give you our truth. And the good news about that is, you can ask us about it week after week, and we'll be the same people putting out the information, and we're not going to go from an algorithm or a source of historic hierarchical information gathering. We're going to use our life experience. And if we don't know, you know what? I'm going to be comfortable with saying, that's a good one. I don't know. We'll do some research and let us know if you'd like us to respond back later.
Yeah, a lot of it, what it will create is some memory flashback, because inevitably me and you have one or the other or both have lived life experience. So a question that seems dumb, isn't always dumb, or seems very personal, you quickly find out that you're not the only one. Like it'll bring back a memory that you have of whether childhood or whatever.
What do we have between us? Like 125 years?
I would say I'm 56 and you're 71. That's 127.
That's a lot. We've been around a lot longer than AI and Google.
That's right. It's working.
Could you think of them as competitors, though? It's nice to start something fresh and realize you're only going against, a database that has, 48 million terabytes of data, and all we have is the real truth. And I just thought about this, the last couple of weeks, how, somebody calls and says, I got this going on, I got that going on. Where do you go with a question like that? I mean, you can, I chat, you could try that. You can go on to Siri. But at the end of the day, who are you going to call? Who can you call and ask a heartfelt question, or a question that you're frustrated about, or something you're angry about, and you don't know where to go? Like my daughter's like, why do I have to pay taxes when she started working? Well, because that's the law of the land. And you have to figure out a way to get used to it, because you're probably not going to change it in your lifetime. And there'll be questions like that. But I'm excited. Hopefully people will carve out questions that they've asked others and haven't gotten what they think they want or need. And our goal would be to try to give them more of what they need than maybe what they want. Hopefully what they need will be what they really want.
Yeah. It's a good option, and there's actually a very successful YouTuber, nice gentle guy who started a YouTube channel for people that don't have fathers. So he'll go on and he'll teach you how to check your oil in your car. He'll go on and show you how to change your wiper blade. Stuff
That's
your
great.
dad probably would have taught you, but realizing how to tie a tie. And he does a ask me anything type advice, and he gives his version of it. I think it's very sweet, very watchable, bingeable too. You'll get stuck in it because it's that good. So what I wanted to talk to you today, Scott, was since we're moving into the holiday season and stuff, and this is up and available 4 days after the Thanksgiving holiday. What should somebody do if, let's just set an example of, they get together with the family, mid-range, let's say there's 18 people at a household, kids, aunts, uncles, the whole family. But one specific, let's say cousin, let's say he's in his mid-20s, you're seeing things that aren't your average, his drinking, his answers, the way he's acting. What is somebody to do, not only at that moment on Thursday, but after? What are some steps somebody could do?
His name is probably Joe.
Yeah, Joe sounds good.
My first response to that is, first of all, every family has a Joe. Every family has somebody who probably is struggling for one reason or another, whatever it might be, mental health issues, untreated trauma, untreated behavioral health issues, maybe acting out inappropriately because they're under the influence of something mood altering. And every family worries about this during Thanksgiving because they know that Joe is going to be there, and they remember what happened last year and the year before. And Joe's behavior, if it's gone unchecked, is going to be worse this year than last year. And last year was pretty bad, for example. So I think whoever is the host of that event, or the one who feels most comfortable approaching Joe, that maybe before the evening gets started, check in with Joe quietly and confidentially and see how he's doing. And you'll know right away, is he inebriated? Is he under the influence? Is he on medication? Is he coming in hot? Is he angry? And just say, is there anything I can do to try to make today positive for you or good for you, or how we can include you in a different way? Or what would you like to see happen on Thanksgiving today, Joe? And just be gentle and ask the question and let him chit chat. On the other side of that question is, if you go through and you experience, which you probably will, because Joe's either going to prepare himself like he normally does to drink before, and with the idea that he'll be calmer. But when he gets there, if others are drinking and he drinks more, he will accelerate and his behavior will amplify. As a follow-up, as a couple members of the family make a decision, we need to take a different position with Joe. We need to find a way to offer him some opportunities, or bring in someone that can help him, or make a suggestion that he might get help when he's past this period of being under the influence, and think about what they can do as a family. I mean, if Joe were to show up and he, his eyes were watering and, he had swollen ears, for example, there'd be concern. And they would make suggestions. It's difficult to talk to somebody when they're under the influence, or when their trauma is amplified, or they're upset about something. It's not a good time to try to calmly sit someone down, but just check in, let them know you're happy to talk after the holiday. Or if you want to go aside now, step outside if the weather's okay. I'd love to hear what's going on. Just be what a good family member would be, and that is support someone you care about. Unless you're just so ready for them to blow up, and then you may have to take a different position. And sometimes, if you have a family member who acts that way, it's okay, in my opinion, to say, this year, why don't you take a pass? Why don't you not put yourself through, unless you really feel up to it. And if you're not feeling good, we'll bring some dinner over to you.
I think most of the time, in majority of the time, so it'll get passed off as, well, it's Thanksgiving. That's one excuse.
Or that's Joe. That's who Joe is, yeah.
But let's say I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm witnessing cousin Joe, who's 26. My aunt is there, his mother. She's enabling it because she's just passing it off, or she has a problem herself. Now, I'm looking at it at 19 years old, the maturity level. I think it's funny because, oh boy, here comes Uncle Joe or Cousin Joe or whatever his name is, and it gets passed. So the younger generation sees it as a joke, as, well, I can't wait for Uncle Joe. Remember what happened last year? The memory cycle. Your mother, his sister or whatever, passes it along as, well, Joe just likes to have his drink, on Thanksgiving. I don't know how people can react and be taken seriously because they get pushed off. Oh, it was just Thanksgiving. He had a few too many. He went out with his friends the night before. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Or his mother saying, no, he's got a job. Yeah, but he still lives at home and stuff. So there's so many parameters in a family dynamic that cause it. Now, one thing, I guess the easy answer is they could always call you. Are you available on Thanksgiving Day? Yeah, and every 365, basically, right?
Call
Leave
me
a
anytime.
message.
I generally pick up my phone. And the only reason I wouldn't is if I'm on another call or on a Zoom somewhere or going to eat or going to the bathroom.
Right.
But I enjoy the holiday phone calls because they're generally, they're spirited. And the family's like so fed up. The family may be ready to do something to help Joe.
Yeah.
And that kid, that 19-year-old who probably has the level of information of a 30-year-old in my generation, is seeing this behavior and knows the difference. Because, more than likely he or they've partied and they've been around and they know it's time to go to sleep to get ready to go get up the next day. And they've watched this for years. And you know what? It's no longer funny because that person's watching his aunt or grandparent or uncle go through the pain watching Joe do what he does. And they're in pain and they're seeing that. So I think there's a level of sensitivity the younger people have today that, and they have a much broader understanding of the world, I think, than I did growing up because of the internet and because of the web. They can get information and they're maturing quicker informationally. I mean, emotionally, we'll see. But it's uncomfortable for everyone, when that person does that. And yeah, it's fun to a certain point, but when he gets up at the table, starts dancing, and then he falls and he hits his head, and they're calling 911 because he's bleeding out. And they've had that experience, maybe not to that severity, but that experience has been there, I assure you. Or there's a blow up and someone says, this is insane. Every year we have to watch this behavior. And then they look at Martha and Ben and say, why aren't you managing this? And they're crying because they're sad because they don't know what to do.
Right.
So, it's, again, if somebody was going into diabetic shock, we'd all know what to do. You call 911, you get medical support. But when it comes to this behavioral health and substance abuse and self-medication, the stigma around it pretty much is, gee whiz, if Joe just stopped drinking, he wouldn't have this problem. Well, my sense would be, if you could talk logically to Joe, he doesn't get up in the morning wanting to kill himself. He doesn't get up in the morning feeling like he has to be numb because he doesn't know how to process what the weather's going to be like in his own head, because that's where the disease is. So
would you recommend, though, in my mind, I would think that same 19-year-old who's concerned, nobody else seems concerned, it's just every Thanksgiving with Joe. But now the 19-year-old is recognizing it. Do you think maybe he should wait until everybody's gone and then, because nobody's going to take him serious, and talk to his parent, his mother or something, say, whatever, do you think Joe has a problem and stuff, and let the parent who might be taken more seriously?
Yeah. Well, whatever you do, you wait. I mean, unless the confrontation is absolutely mandatory and interventions required at that moment, I would never do that. And, if you could get Joe pulled aside, but it's probably not the 19-year-old that should do that. And maybe he could pull his mom or, maybe an older sibling and go, I'm really worried about Joe. Think that maybe we can go have him go outside. We'll have a cigarette. We'll talk with him and see if we can help a little bit, because, he's just it's 6:30 at night. We're going to be here till 11, and we know what happened last year. You may not be able to avoid it, but maybe you can slow it down. Maybe you can pivot. Maybe you can find a way to sit comfortably within your own skin and just not let it impact you. Because the fact that this is a family disease, most of the pain being suffering, other than Joe's, is the family, because they've seen this. They've seen this play before. They know what the outcome looks like, and they know that they've watched their family member slowly disintegrate or denigrate over time, and they're not getting better. So you make the best of it, and then you don't let it go. Get through the holiday, and then start going online and go, how do I help my brother? How do I help my grandparents? There's resources out there online, or call me. We'll talk about it. And again, my experience has always been Joe doesn't call me. It's everyone else around him who is impacted by that behavior. Or, they come and they contaminate an environment that really, you said 18 people, 17 people there are going to be miserable if he does his dance that he normally does. They're going to be miserable. They're going to be impacted. And then they have to explain to their kids, it's okay. Joe, he likes his liquor. Well, wait, he just broke 3 windows and threw a vase to the bathroom door. And then he dumped the turkey on the floor trying to be cute and nearly fell on the knife. And they're like, well, maybe next year he'll fall on the knife. No, I think we need to be a little more proactive than that. And I think we can today if you want.
Yeah, and I think it's important. One thing we tend not to do, and I understand it because I do it too, is believe you can't learn something from a 19-year-old. Like a 19-year-old can't give you information that you could learn because you always say, kid, I've been alive 40 years longer than you. What are you going to teach me? But in the world we live in today, that 19-year-old probably has already had 3 friends die from a fentanyl or drugs or suicide. Maybe you didn't have those things. It didn't tend to be as noticed then, at least, or talked about. It was, in our day. So I think that 19-year-old does have valid skill sets of knowledge that we don't. And I don't think we listen enough. So since we on that, why don't you give people your phone number?
619-993-2738. 619yourcrisiscoach.com, or just Google Scott H. Silverman. Find me, make a phone call. And, you want to get through the week, talk to me. You call us after Thanksgiving or between now and the end of the year, January. It doesn't matter. I do this every day, and I do it for a reason. I want to go back to your point about kids and knowledge. The information highway is so broad right now, as you know, Fred, that 19-year-old, may knows 3 people that good friends, or significant others of others. But they also are exposed to the information highway. They're hearing about it. They're reading about it. They're seeing it, and the morbidity rate, if you will, is so high that the deaths continue and they're not decreasing. In my opinion, government leadership is not slowing things down with their skill set. So it's really up to each one of us in our community, and really coming back to the immediate community, your family and friends, that can help support each other, because that's the way it works. And I know from my own life experience, watching these families who go through this year after year, and then they create this platform to try to get the information out, and they get frustrated because no one wants to let them come into the school and talk about it. It takes months, years to get in the information there. It's not an easy topic because people aren't necessarily ready to talk about how bad things look when they're because it's opaque. It's like, well, we only see him once a year. That's who he is, and he'll just always be like that. We all have to be held hostage and work around him, and I don't think life should be like that. And I think younger people, that's our generation, are saying, you know what, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to be around it. But then going to isolate's not going to help either, because that doesn't help you process.
I will tell you this from a guy who's single and on some dating websites and stuff like that. I scroll across many, more than I would have thought, many women who are completely sober and proud to announce it. In other words, they put it right in the profile. I don't drink, no drugs, no games. And I want the same in a partner and stuff. So I do stumble across that quite often, more often than I would have assumed. So that's a good positive, that people are not ashamed I mean, they're not outing themselves saying I had a problem with alcohol, but they're saying they're setting their standards. They're putting their line in the sand of what they want. So at the
And
same time,
my sense is, Fred, that they're part of the reason they're doing that is they've had some negative experience with people in
yeah,
relationship where that goes on. Because when you've got a significant other who is under the influence or has a gambling problem or is addicted to food or sports or sex, it's very disruptive in a relationship, because if you're not talking about it, you've got two different people in this relationship, and as they come together, whether it's dinner or going out or the movies, the lens they look at life through can really get clouded, if you will. So I think it's good that people are doing that. I don't know anything about dating. I thought you were off those sites. Maybe you got back on. I can't remember.
yeah, I
But
was. I go back and forth between them because I've never had it. First of all, I don't have very good luck in those because I am not a person that you're going to enjoy or be attracted to in verbs and writing and looking at pictures. I'm in very same, and it goes for me in job searching and stuff. I'm not as good on paper as I am in person. In person is where I shine, especially at job interviews and stuff. I sell myself very well and I got a good balance, and it's same in the dating world. And because I don't go out, I'm not meeting anybody. But at the same time, now's not the time to necessarily meet somebody anyway, but I'm also in that I got to figure out, I got to get off the fence on one side or the other. I'm very on the fence, and no woman wants a man on the fence. You're either all in or all out. Don't be wishy-washy. And I'm very selfish in my lifestyle, selfish in my desires and my needs, selfish in my work and stuff. Not all bad qualities for what they're aimed at, but my time is very limited for somebody that has nothing but time. Make sense?
yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, everybody has these similar flaws. It's just I got to make a decision to either go for it or go and get away from it. You can't
What
ride
about
that
those?
fence.
We probably spend a whole hour on this. What about those? What do they call them? Speed dating events, where you go in and you have like 30 seconds to make your best first impression. You know what? I know so little about dating in today's world. Michelle and I have been, going through this thing with our weight management thing that we're committed to, and we've had such a good time laughing at each other because the distraction, has been different. And since we're both doing it together, which really, it's kind of unusual as long as we've been together to try to make a commitment to do something. Some people get into pickleball, we don't, but it's been fun actually, and I had a bad night last night because I had a reaction to something I ate, but didn't sleep well. But I got up this morning and she said, "How'd you feel?" I said, "Are you kidding?" I think I was up every 20 minutes. So, but we laughed because she said, "Well, at least you're alive." I said, "Oh, okay, thank you."
Yeah, thanks.
Get that confirmation. So anyway,
Yeah,
good time.
you've been out of the game. You've been out of the game forever. I mean, you've been married. You haven't dated in 40 something years.
40, 43. Yeah.
43 years you haven't dated, and the internet wasn't even there. You didn't even have these interactions. And listen,
Jesus Christ, Fred. I think when we got married, it was like black and white TV was just transitioning to color.
right. It wasn't that long ago. Definitely wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but I have two daughters, and they don't really want to talk about what they're doing in that world unless I ask a specific question, and then they excuse themselves and don't come back for an hour.
No, but they're two respectful young ladies who are beautiful girls, young and single. So obviously they're out dating and or at least searching and doing things like that. But that's what you learn as a father and a parent. None of it's your business until it is your business, until they make it your business. You could ask about it. You could make it, but you can't give details and stuff. My daughter went out, called me, told me she was going out on a date last Friday or something. And she gave me some information, nothing major, nothing where I could Google them and search them or stuff. You just got to throw trust into the wind. And the next day I just said, how'd the date go? And she said, fine. And that's where the conversation ended. I don't know what went on the date, and I don't care. I care, did you enjoy yourself? Was it fun? Was he nice? I could go down I could question her for an hour and a half on it, and then Google him and check his Instagram and all this stuff. And I could find every negative that doesn't even exist about this guy. But truthfully,
wait a minute, every negative that doesn't exist, you mean manufacture them in your own head?
yeah, because I'm her father. He's never going to be good enough. He's never going to be good enough. So I'll just manufacture. I don't like the way this is. You find a flaw instead of understand the flaw. So it's one of them things. But okay, so that's going to be it, Scott. That's going to be it. You already gave your phone number. We already discussed our new angle of Ask Us Anything, and please don't be afraid. Put it in the comments. You could email us at your crisis coach. What is it? crisiscoachpodcast@gmail.com. Whatever. Text it to Scott. And we're going to read these online and read them out loud. We don't got to put your name in or anything, but and try to answer
if you want us
honestly.
to, if you want to say, hey, I'm Joe Jones from Wycombe County, Kansas, let us know and we'll give you credit for the question.
Yeah, I could definitely put that into the website on my end, and that's lefteyelazymedia.com, where you can find your crisis coach stuff. And that's going to be it. So you have a good holiday.
You too, brother.
Have a good Thursday. I'm going to do my thing, my typical holiday things. My life doesn't change much from it. I'm not a big drinker, but I will have a few, probably spiked coffees during the day, at dinner. And I'm smoking a turkey the night before, Wednesday. I start the smoker because it's a large turkey, 24-pound turkey. So it takes about 24 hours to smoke it at 180 degrees.
You do that indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors. I got a big 55-gallon drum smoker.
Great.
But it's a lot of work, a lot of dedication, because you got to keep that fire steady. And you got to get up every hour or two and check it and put more wood on the fire. But it's usually good. And then I take that turkey and freeze it, make a lot of turkey soup. So it's just what I do every year. Okay, my friend. Well, have a great holiday. I will talk to you again. If nobody has told you they love you today, we love you. This is your Crisis Coach podcast with Scott H. Silverman and myself, Fred Carroll. Everybody have a good holiday, and we'll talk to you again next week. Say goodbye, Scott.
Goodbye, Scott. And goodbye, Fred.